Okay, so the first thing that I want you to do is get your camera, and what we're going to do is we're going to adjust our aperture so you can see the differences in everything. Take your shutter speed to 100. That's 1/100th of a second, okay? And then take your ISO and put that to 200. The next thing I want you to do, I want you to get 2 pieces of fruit, or two anything. And what you're going to do is find a windowsill, take your 2 pieces, put one in front of the other, and the first thing you do is put your aperture. So your shutter speed is going to be 100. Your ISO is going to be 200. Take your aperture and put it to f1.8 and take the picture. Now, depending on how sunny or bright out it is that day, this is going to vary. But this right here is the image that I got. And look at your observations, okay? So, first of all, we're getting a lot of light in, okay? This is blurry. All this in the background is blurry, okay? But again, it's a lot of light. But you're seeing here that when you have an aperture of f1.8, so you're getting a lot of light in that lens, it's also creating a depth of field. So move your aperture up to 2.5. And again, look at what happened. First of all, you got a lot less light. Your 1.8, you're, blowing out this end of the pepper. You move it to 2.5 and less light. But look at what's happening. You're even starting to see this orange is becoming a little more defined. So you're losing that depth of field, but not awfully. Here's f4. Maybe it's 3.5 or so. So move it up to 3.5 and see what happens. Then go to f6. Now at f6 you can see, first of all, we're losing light. So back here, what was ever back here, we're not being able to see as much anymore. But everything's becoming in focus. So you're starting to see your orange and, this little thing on the wall. Oops. And then go to f11 or f9. And then you go to f11. Where at this point in time, you're really not being able to see what's back here, and you've lost your light, but everything is in focus. So what this has accomplished is that you now understand that your aperture at f11 is going to be dark, and everything's in focus, okay? So the higher your aperture number, f5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, the less light, the more in focus. Versus f1.8, more light, focused, back here is all blurry, okay? So you might be saying to me, well, Lindsay, what if I wanted everything, what if I wanted f11? What if I wanted f11 and wanted everything in focus, but I wanted to add more light? Okay, that's where you adjust your shutter speed. Our shutter speed right now is at f1, like 1/100, right? Make it lower. Make those shutters stay open longer. So try 1/30, 1/13. All of a sudden now, at f11, you're starting to be able to get that light be brought back in. Okay? So at f11, keep adjusting your shutter speed till all of a sudden you see that happen, okay? Now the next thing I want us to do, and pause, redo this as many times as you can to understand the aperture while keeping your shutter speed the same, while keeping your shutter speed constant. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to keep our aperture constant, our ISO constant, and we're going to affect our shutter speed. So let's start here. Let's go to f 2.2. Keep your ISO at 100 or 200. And the first thing we're going to do is take your shutter speed to 1 what was this? What did I have this at? 13, I believe. Okay. Take it to 1.4. So f2.2, your aperture is at 2.2. Your ISO is constant, and take your shutter speed to 1.4. Okay? It's blown out. Your aperture is so wide open. Your shutter speed is being wide open. And if you dropped an orange at this point in time, the whole thing would just blur because it's so slow. And you should be able to hear that it's that slow. So then take it to the next step. Up your shutter speed a little bit faster to 1/13. Then go to 40. Now you're starting to see, you know, we're starting to get a little better here. And then 60. I back focused here on this orange. I apologize about that. And then 125. And this is kind of perfect here. Of course, I was back focusing on this orange because the orange came out on this side and I was just playing around quickly. But no matter what you can see is you have one thing in focus and everything else is nice and blurry, okay? So this would be kind of the perfect image. A little less light would be nice. But this is 125. And take it to the next step. You're hitting 320, getting darker, but we're still maintaining that depth of field because your aperture is at 2.2. If you took that aperture even lower, this would be blurrier. So even 1.4, 1.8, 2.0, but this is 2.2. And, you know, here it's getting darker. This is at 1600 or 1000. Take it to 1600. This is 1600. And then take it one step further and go to 4000. And there you're really losing the image altogether. So the whole idea is to understand this balance of what are you looking for? Are you looking for an image that is completely in focus? Are you looking for an image that everything you can see the nail here, you can see trees out there, out back here, but you just want it to be bright enough? In that case, if you want everything in focus, figure it, what do you think your aperture should be? It should be high because that keeps everything in focus and less light, and you move around your shutter speed. If you want that blurry image, you want that image where you have that pepper that's nice and crisp, and you have this orange back here that's blurred, your aperture is going to need to be low. f1.4, f1.8, 2.0, 2.2, and you adjust your shutter speed around it. So that's what I give you. I want to see 5 pictures from everybody where everything's in focus, 5 where everything's in focus, and 5 where you're getting that depth of field, where you have your image in the front, whether it be a kid, a salt and pepper shaker, a piece of money, I don't care what it is, and the background's blurry, and try to expose it properly. It's all going to come down to adjusting your aperture or your shutter speed and trying to figure it out along those lines. And the only way you can really, really, really successfully figure that out is by practicing. So the first goal is to try to do something like this, get used to your camera and moving those things around. Doing something like this first is a lot easier than trying to take a picture of your kid running around. So I think that this is certainly the way to go, is by taking 2 objects and just working with this and throw those pictures up. Let's see them. Or go outside, take a picture of, you know, a tree limb. I don't care what it is, but, you know, let's see what they are. And they do not have to be perfect by any means, because you know, it just is what it is, and obviously the cropping factors and this and that, you know, let's just see where we can go from here. And any questions on getting your camera into manual mode and figuring that out, literally how to adjust your camera onto those settings, let me know and we can address those together. But let's start posting these in the Facebook site, and we'll go from there. Okay, thanks.